The last session of the day. So thank you for your participation. So we have several, I would say, parts in this session. We will start with the reporting of the three breakout. I will give the floor to my colleagues. So we will report during 3-4 minutes per session, and I will start with Patricia for the first group, which is the right social entrepreneurship model for local needs. Patricia, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Pascal. Okay, so indeed we've been discussing different aspects around different examples that we have in the breakout rooms for the how to start with the right model for the social entrepreneurship. For success factors, I think we have a lot of commonalities in what was there in the room. All the participants were setting the need for this participatory approach, how you need to build on the capacities and the capabilities and the skills that exist in that rural area, achieving the peer level, work with the local resources that you have, start with your own, so you are independent and that you are guiding the idea and the model that you have. And then later on, you will have the structure and the skills to go for the funding, let's say. We have spoken about social economy models in terms of social network approach, so intermediaries between internal and external resources in rural areas. And we have spoken a lot about the need for interdisciplinary approach, multidisciplinary approach in line with the New European Bauhaus, our integrated approach to as the commonalities of the projects that have been successful in that case. For the challenges, we have mentioned quite across the different participants the challenge regarding legal frameworks. In some countries, like not sufficient legal frameworks. In others, they were saying like even not a legal framework, so people struggle to identify this concept of social economy. Even it get mixed in a bottle, social economy with enterprise, with social innovation, that we said is not necessarily the same. There is also some challenges in finding the right tools that understand really the local context. We've been speaking about the challenge of separating everything that is rural and urban, and how we need to create more synergies or these linkages, urban-rural, and how to integrate different sources of knowledge to create the model. For the recommendations that are very much linked with these challenges, the participants were saying we really need to raise awareness and to promote the usefulness of the social economy and the social entrepreneurship model as such, so that we can push this resistance maybe at national level, for instance, in some countries, to have concrete legal frameworks that can support this the ecosystem for social economy and social entrepreneurship to flourish. And by having these legal frameworks, then also that citizens are more aware. One participant was saying, if you go to university and ask youngsters, do they want to create a business? A lot of them will say yes. And what about social business? There is still this lack of promoting better what is the added value and the how this can be done. And again, the need of working in a holistic way, strategic approach, bottom-up funding that is addressing the rurality, the local needs, are some of the recommendations that we have in our room.
Thank you very much, Patricia. You have succeeded to cover the three aspects of the mandate. So thank you for that. So now we are going to move to the second breakout session, which is about identifying and involving local actors to support social entrepreneurship. And Enrique, as moderator, you have the floor.
Thank you, Pascal. We started actually our discussion as well based on the previous one, because I mean, when you involve, you are already ahead on your path towards supporting social entrepreneurship. But what was clear is that social entrepreneurship needs to start from the needs of the local community. And that's at the first step in order to then be able to really engage the right actors that you need. So it needs to be embedded in the needs, provide a response to a niche that emerged, a market failure that is present there. And that will enable you to then mobilize the community to involve the right actors. So in that respect as well, there were examples around planning and visioning where the community wants to be. And within that, the strategic approach to try to embed as well how the social economy can respond to that strategic planning. And from those bases, you can start mobilizing the group. Of course, what is very relevant is this role of the animator. We've seen on all the experiences and exchanges that we've had in our group that there is always someone that is able to connect the local actors as well. But in order to do that as well, the social enterprises or those that want to start a social enterprise, they need skills sometimes as well to be able to connect with the others. Okay, so skills is also a success factor. There is also a need for knowledge in terms of models, how to implement projects. People need to build trust that things are possible to be done in order to connect with these initiatives, and not to think that things are really impossible. So it's really important to show the community that things are possible, to show to social enterprises that things are possible, to build that trust and that confidence to really be able to engage. So I think those are the main points. So we were talking about engaging others. So the main challenge sometimes is to find these others. We have rural areas that are really thriving, and there you will have probably many that will entrepreneurs that will start probably a social business. They would be able to find the capital and so on. But what about many of our rural areas where these local leaders, these young people, these potential entrepreneurs are really moving away? How do we boost that in those areas? So that's the biggest challenge that was identified. Because if support is directed to those areas where we have the social capital, is the big word that we used all the time, maybe what we are promoting is more unequal rural areas. So that's a very important point to consider when we support social entrepreneurship. Then again, the same issues, regulatory framework, recognition of the legal entity is very important, so that there is some sort of strength behind this concept and people have this confidence to engage with that. Access to networks, people need knowledge, skills, need to see that things are possible elsewhere. There has been a challenge for these rural actors to really identify networks that are focusing work on rural areas. We see, and there are networks and opportunities out there, but it's not that clearly identifiable that people from rural areas can seek opportunities in those networks, in those funding opportunities. Sometimes there is difficulties and challenges to mobilize the community, so a lot of efforts need to be there. And as well, the challenge is that sometimes there is not the right infrastructure and to build this ecosystem to mobilize the community around social entrepreneurship. So some of these challenges can turn into, and enabling factors can turn as well into recommendations, but I just want to flag 2 or 3. So one is to really support with funding, not only individual projects with one beneficiary, but really on social entrepreneurship to try to advocate multi-actor projects. You need different partners to get engaged. So try to support that approach with funding opportunities. Recommendation is to strengthen the network at EU, national, but also regional level around social entrepreneurship in rural areas. It's not about duplicating in most of the cases, it's probably more about strengthening the rural component in existing structures so that they also devote time rural areas. And I think something that is cross-cutting and will emerge in all of them is the importance of the animator at local level. The institution that could be a lab, could be a social enterprise that is able to mobilize, provide the knowledge and connect the local actors, but not only the local actors among themselves, but we see it as well, the local actors and the needs as well with what is available outside the territory. So to ask, in a sense, as this broker that can support social entrepreneurship.
Many thanks, Enrique. Quite detailed and quite complete from my point of view, because I had the chance to join this session as well. So now we are moving to the last session, reporting with Ursula on the long-term sustainability of social entrepreneurship.
Yes, and I would just like to very briefly show you the result of our work on Miro. So for the success factors, we had a number of things that are in the area itself, to have the collective sense of common goods, friendly, let's say, supportive local authorities, democratic governance model, a dynamic community that can be attractive, that can attract people also from the outside. There has to be a way of valorizing the rural. So the rural has to have, people have to see that this is something really valuable, and that they can offer something like such as nature-based ecosystem in addition to the other things that were mentioned. We also need from, that's more from the outside, like digital solutions that enable, for example, distance work. And also we need support structures. There were a lot of points about the support structures. We have, in fact, we all represent support type of organizations. Most of us represented such support organizations, and they will come back. An adequate legal framework. Again, this will come back in the lessons. And also something that we need to start very quickly to create a change. So something like a Trojan horse, something that wasn't there, and it will appear to make a change. There were a few factors about success related to the funding. Crowdfunding is just a reminder that crowdfunding is not just one way, but it's a whole toolbox of different ways of collecting funding. Also availability of EU sources, and also the social economy has to be attractive for private funders, because that's the issue for the long-term sustainability. One comment on transferability, which can also be treated as success factor, is that there are peer reviews. The method of peer reviews can facilitate transferability from one area to the next. For challenges, one important challenge is measuring the impact, and also generally changing the mindset of people to appreciate social economy, to recognize what it is about. There was a very big group of points about housing and access to housing and real estate, and making people, enable people to settle down in rural areas, and also making social services sustainable, but also the importance of the certain, let's say, downside of rural areas, which has probably higher costs, which has the economies of scale are more difficult to reach. They don't always offer the same leisure, culture, opportunities, and there's this urban-centric vision of policymakers, again, which is, there are also issues about bureaucracy in local politics and lack of experience of local governments, and the importance of the fear to fail, and the inability to go beyond the sort of project funding, external funding sources. So that's the other side of the, when it works well, when it's crowdfunding and other sources, it works well. When you don't have it, it's a challenge. And then lessons and recommendations. The important lessons for both the policymaking and the lower level is to advocate and educate decision makers about social economy. The support structures, the legal framework, and enabling the capital to empower people, that was really was already mentioned. Many of these things. Explore EU funding possibilities for local level. Look for solutions for remote workers. Educate the community, including financial literacy, and foster civic engagement. That's for the local level. for the decision-making level is the rural housing issue again, but also the allowing the possibility to fail, not to be too restrictive and say you must always succeed with public money, and if allow failure to inform next steps. So that's it from our group.